History often tells the fall of the Western Roman Empire like a giant explosion, a final battle, burning cities, screaming armies, and a powerful emperor fighting until the end. But the truth is far more disturbing. The greatest empire of the ancient world did not fall in a storm of fire. It simply stopped breathing. No massive battle decided its fate. No heroic last stand changed the course of history. Instead, on one quiet day in the year deposition of Romulus Augustulus, a boy emperor sat powerless while a foreign warlord calmly took the throne away from him. No crowds gathered. No great Roman army marched to defend their ruler. No one could stop what was happening. Because by that time, Rome was already hollow inside. For many years, the empire had slowly changed. Roman soldiers were disappearing from its armies. Foreign fighters were filling their place. Emperors believed they had found a clever solution: let outsiders fight the wars while Romans stayed safe. At first, it looked like a smart idea. But slowly, something dangerous began to grow. These foreign soldiers were no longer just helpers. They were becoming the real power behind the empire. And one man understood this better than anyone else. A Germanic warlord named Odoacer. On September 4, 476 AD, he walked into history, not with a sword raised in battle, but with quiet confidence. Because Rome was no longer truly Roman. And the boy emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was about to become the final ruler of a dying world. The fall of Rome did not come like thunder. It came like silence. Stay with us till the end for valuable insights. Like, subscribe, and share to support the channel. For centuries, the Roman Empire was the most powerful force the world had ever seen. Its armies marched across 3 continents. Its roads stretched farther than anyone thought possible. Its cities were full of life, wealth, and power. From the cold forests of northern Europe to the hot deserts of North Africa, Rome ruled millions of people. At the heart of this massive empire stood one city, Rome. This city was not just a capital. It was the center of the world. People believed Rome could never fall. Its soldiers were feared everywhere. Roman legions were famous for their discipline, their training, and their unstoppable strength. When Roman armies marched into battle, enemies often surrendered before the fight even began. For generations, the empire kept expanding. New lands, new wealth, new power. But empires do not only fall because of enemies outside their borders. Sometimes the real danger grows slowly inside. As the centuries passed, the empire became larger and harder to control. Rebellions broke out. Borders became harder to defend. Enemies surrounded the empire from every direction. New groups of warriors were moving across Europe. Many of them were powerful tribal nations that the Romans called Germanic tribes. Some came as enemies. But others came with a different offer. They offered to fight for Rome. At first, this seemed like a perfect solution. Roman leaders realized they could hire these foreign warriors as soldiers. These men were strong, skilled fighters, and many were eager to earn gold and land inside the empire. Why risk Roman lives when outsiders were willing to fight? So slowly, year after year, more and more foreign soldiers entered the Roman army. They were called foederati. At the beginning, they were simply helpers. But over time, something very important changed. These warriors did not just serve Rome. They began to control it. Many Roman generals were no longer Roman. Powerful military leaders came from outside the empire. Some had never even been citizens before rising to the highest ranks of the army. The emperors believed they were still in charge. But the real power of the empire had always been the army. And the army was slowly becoming something very different. By the late 400s, Rome looked strong on the outside. Its cities still stood tall. Its tradition still continued. But inside the system, something had already broken. The empire was no longer held together by Roman strength. It was held together by foreign swords. And one day, those swords would stop protecting Rome and start ruling it. For a long time, the leaders of the Roman Empire believed they had found a clever solution to their growing problems. The empire was huge. Its borders stretched thousands of miles. Enemies were appearing everywhere, from the frozen lands of the north to the eastern deserts. Keeping such a massive empire safe required a powerful army. But something had changed. Fewer Roman citizens wanted to become soldiers. In the early days of Rome, joining the army was a great honor. Roman men proudly trained to defend their homeland. They believed it was their duty. But by the later centuries of the empire, life inside Rome had become comfortable for many people. Wealthy families preferred trade, politics, and luxury instead of military life. Even many ordinary citizens tried to avoid the dangers of war. The emperors faced a serious problem. Who would fight Rome's battles? So they made a decision that seemed practical at the time. Instead of forcing Romans to fight, they would allow foreign warriors to join the army. These fighters came from tribes beyond Rome's borders, especially from the powerful Germanic tribes. Many of these men were strong, fearless warriors. They had grown up in harsh lands where survival required strength and courage. Rome offered them something they wanted: gold, land, and a place inside the greatest empire on earth. These warriors were organized into groups known as foederati. At first, the system worked. These foreign soldiers fought bravely in many battles. They defended Roman borders and helped the empire survive dangerous invasions. Roman emperors felt relieved. Their own citizens were safe, and the empire still had an army. But there was a hidden danger inside this new system. The foederati were loyal first to their own tribal leaders, not to Rome. Their commanders were often powerful warlords who kept control over their own warriors. They followed Rome's orders only when it suited them. Still, the emperors continued relying on them more and more. Year after year, foreign soldiers filled the ranks of the army. And slowly, something important disappeared. The traditional Roman legions, the disciplined soldiers who once built the empire, were fading away. In their place stood armies led by men who had never grown up inside Roman culture. Many of them spoke different languages. Many of them followed different traditions. Some of them even dreamed of ruling parts of the empire themselves. At first, the emperors did not see the danger. Or maybe they simply believed they had no other choice. They needed these warriors. Without them, Rome might collapse even faster. But every year, the balance of power shifted a little more. The emperors still wore the crown. They still sat on the throne. But behind the throne stood powerful military leaders who controlled the real strength of the empire. And those leaders were no longer Roman. One day, one of those foreign commanders would realize something very simple. If the army already belonged to them, then why should the empire belong to someone else? That moment was getting closer. And when it arrived, the fate of the Western Roman Empire would be decided without a great battle. Only a quiet act of power. By the time the final years of the Western Roman Empire arrived, something strange had happened. The empire still looked powerful from the outside. Cities still stood tall. Roman laws were still written and followed. Emperors still wore purple robes and golden crowns. But the truth was very different. The system that once made Rome strong had slowly begun to fall apart. For centuries, the strength of the empire came from discipline, unity, and loyal Roman soldiers. But by the late 400s, those foundations were weak. The government struggled to control distant provinces. Communication across the huge empire had become slow and difficult. Local leaders sometimes ignored the emperor's orders completely. Even worse, the army, the true power of Rome, was no longer truly Roman. Many of the most important military commanders were now foreign-born leaders from the Germanic tribes. These men had grown powerful by leading the foreign warriors that filled the empire's armies. They were supposed to protect Rome. But their loyalty to the empire was not always strong. Some of these commanders became so powerful that they began controlling the emperors themselves. The emperor might sit on the throne, but real decisions were often made by the generals standing behind him. And sometimes, those generals decided who should become the next emperor. During these years, emperors came and went quickly. Some ruled for only a few months. Others were removed, forced to step down, or even killed. The throne of Rome, once the most powerful position in the world, had become unstable and fragile. One powerful general who understood this system very well was Orestes. Orestes was not originally Roman either. He came from outside the traditional Roman world but had risen through the ranks of the army. Like many military leaders before him, he realized something important. The emperor did not always need to be powerful. The general controlling the army could hold the real power. So in the year 475 AD, Orestes made a bold move. He forced the current emperor to step down. But instead of placing himself on the throne, he did something surprising. He crowned his own young son as emperor. That boy was Romulus Augustulus. Romulus was still a child. He had little experience, little authority, and very little control over the empire he was supposed to rule. Many people understood what was really happening. The boy emperor was only a symbol. The real ruler was his father. But even Orestes did not fully control the forces growing inside the empire. Because the soldiers who truly held power were the foreign warriors who had been fighting for Rome for years. They had defended the empire. They had spilled their blood for it. And now they believed they deserved something in return. They wanted land. They wanted rewards. They wanted a permanent place inside the empire they had protected. But when they demanded these things, Orestes refused. And that refusal would soon create a new enemy. A powerful warrior who had been watching Rome's weakness very carefully. His name was Odoacer. And soon, he would make a decision that would quietly end an empire that had lasted for centuries. By the year 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire was standing on very weak ground. The emperors looked powerful, but everyone inside the empire knew the truth. The real power was the army. And the army was filled with foreign warriors. Many of these soldiers had spent years fighting for Rome. They had protected its cities and defended its borders. They had risked their lives again and again. But now they wanted something more. They wanted land inside the empire. To them, this seemed fair. After all, they had given their strength to protect Rome. They believed they deserved a place to live inside the lands they had defended. Their leaders went to the powerful Roman general Orestes with a request. They asked for land in Italy. But Orestes refused. He feared that giving land to these foreign soldiers would weaken Roman control even more. Perhaps he believed the empire could still recover. Perhaps he thought the soldiers would accept his decision. But he was wrong. The warriors were angry. They felt betrayed. For years they had fought for Rome, and now Rome was refusing to reward them. Among these angry soldiers was a strong and confident leader. His name was Odoacer. Odoacer was not a Roman citizen by birth. He came from the world beyond the empire's borders, a world filled with powerful tribal warriors. But he had spent many years serving inside the Roman military system. He understood Rome better than many Romans themselves. He understood something very important. The empire was weak. Its leaders were divided. Its army was no longer loyal to the emperor. And its power was only an illusion. When the soldiers realized their request for land had been denied, they began looking for someone who could lead them. Someone strong. Someone bold. Someone willing to challenge the authority of Rome itself. They chose Odoacer. Suddenly, a rebellion was forming inside the empire's own army. Odoacer gathered the angry warriors around him. Thousands of soldiers who once served Rome now stood ready to march against it. Their target was not a distant enemy. Their target was the Roman government itself. The rebellion moved quickly. Orestes tried to stop the uprising, but his forces were not strong enough. Many soldiers who were supposed to defend the empire simply joined Odoacer instead. Soon, Orestes was captured and killed. The last defense of the empire had fallen. Now only one figure remained. A young boy sitting on the Roman throne. The child emperor Romulus Augustulus. He had no army. No powerful generals protecting him. And no way to stop what was coming next. Odoacer marched toward the center of Roman power. But what happened next would surprise many people. Because the fall of Rome would not come through fire, destruction, or a massive battle. Instead, it would happen quietly. Almost peacefully. A moment so calm that many people at the time may not have even realized that one of the greatest empires in human history had just ended. By early September of the year 476 AD, the fate of the Western Roman Empire was already decided. The rebellion led by Odoacer had moved quickly across Italy. The last strong defender of the government, the Roman general Orestes, was gone. With Orestes dead, there was no real power left to protect the emperor. And the emperor himself was only a boy. His name was Romulus Augustulus. Even his name carried a strange meaning. Romulus was the name of the legendary founder of Rome. Augustus was the title of Rome's first great emperor. But this young boy had none of that power. He was sitting on a throne that had already lost its strength. When Odoacer's forces approached the center of power, there was no massive Roman army waiting to defend the emperor. No great battle filled the streets. No heroic stand saved the empire. Instead, something almost unbelievable happened. The empire simply gave up. On September 4, 476 AD, the young emperor was forced to give up his crown. This moment is remembered as the deposition of Romulus Augustulus. But it was not a violent event. Odoacer did not execute the boy emperor. He did not burn the city. He did not destroy the institutions of Rome. Instead, he quietly removed Romulus Augustulus from power. The boy emperor was sent away to live a peaceful life in the countryside. Some historians believe he was given a comfortable home and allowed to live quietly for many years. The crown of the Western Roman Empire was simply taken away. And something even more surprising followed. Odoacer did not declare himself the new Roman emperor. Instead, he sent the imperial symbols, the crown and royal insignia, to the Eastern Emperor, Zeno, who ruled from the powerful city of Constantinople. This message carried a powerful meaning. Odoacer was saying that the western half of the Roman Empire no longer needed its own emperor. The empire in the west was finished. Instead, Odoacer would rule Italy as a king while still recognizing the authority of the Eastern Emperor. It was a strange ending. After centuries of power, conquest, and dominance, the Western Roman Empire did not collapse in a great war. It simply stopped existing. No single battle marked its fall. No dramatic moment told the world that the empire had ended. Many ordinary people living at that time may not have even understood what had happened. But historians looking back would later see that this quiet moment changed the course of history. The Roman world in the West was gone, and a new age was beginning. When Romulus Augustulus lost his throne in 476 AD, something incredible happened. Almost nothing. There were no massive protests in the streets, no desperate armies trying to restore the empire, no final attempt to rebuild Roman power. Life simply continued. Farmers still worked their fields. Merchants still sold goods in busy markets. Cities continued to function much like they had before. For many ordinary people living in Italy and across the old Roman lands, the change of rulers did not immediately feel dramatic. One government had replaced another. But this quiet moment still marked the end of something enormous. For centuries, the Western Roman Empire had shaped the world. It had built roads that connected continents, spread laws that influenced civilizations, and created cities that became centers of culture and trade. Rome had once seemed eternal. Many people believed it would last forever. But by the late 400s, the empire had already been weakening for a very long time. The final moment in 476 AD was not the cause of Rome's fall. It was simply the last breath of something that had been fading for generations. And the man who took power after that moment, Odoacer, did not destroy Roman society. Instead, he ruled Italy carefully. He kept many Roman systems in place. Roman officials continued to work in government. Roman laws were still respected. Cities remained active and organized. In many ways, daily life did not suddenly collapse. But the world had still changed. The idea of a united Roman government in Western Europe was gone. The old empire that once controlled lands from Britain to North Africa no longer existed as a single power. Instead, new kingdoms slowly began to rise in the territories Rome once ruled. Many of these kingdoms were led by leaders from the same Germanic tribes that had once served in the Roman army. Over time, these new rulers built their own states across Europe. This transformation marked the beginning of a new era in history, a time that historians would later call the early medieval world. But what makes the fall of Rome so fascinating is how quiet it truly was. The empire did not explode. It did not disappear overnight. Instead, it slowly lost its strength until one day it simply could not continue. The system that once held everything together had changed from the inside. The emperors had relied more and more on foreign warriors. They believed those soldiers were protecting the empire. But eventually, those same soldiers became the new rulers. And that is why the story of Rome's fall feels so powerful even today. It reminds us that great powers rarely collapse in a single dramatic moment. More often, they fade slowly, piece by piece, until the final moment arrives. When historians look back at the year deposition of Romulus Augustulus, they see the symbolic end of one of the greatest civilizations in history. A world that had lasted for centuries quietly came to an end. No thunder. No final battle. Just silence. The empire that once ruled the world simply stopped breathing. If you enjoy dark untold history, subscribe because we uncover what others won't.